Hey there, all my fellow Schmiga nerds. Welcome back to Broadway by Ghostlight. I'm Mark Bonanni, and today, Schmigadoon choreographer and Tony Award winner Chris Gattelli is back, and we are diving into the amazing third episode of Schmigadoon's Season 2 titled Bells and Whistles. So much great stuff in this episode to discuss. We take a look at the songs Everyone's Gotta Get Naked, Worst Brats in Town, and of course, the insane episode title song, Bells and Whistles, featuring the one and only Jane Krakowski. Chris shares his process and some great Easter eggs for those numbers, plus a super deep cut Easter egg used in the parable the tribe tells Josh this episode. And of course, there's some amazing and exclusive pre-visualization footage from when they were working out these dances in the room before they went to filming. I don't know about you, but I feel so lucky to be able to see those things. Episode 1 and 2 with Chris are out already, and the rest of the episodes will be releasing on Tuesdays. But I can't wait to break this episode down with our esteemed guests, so let's just get right to it. Chris Gattelli, thank you so much for being here yet again on Broadway by Ghostlight to break down Schmigadoon Season 2.
Thank you for having me. I love it. So much fun doing this with you. I really appreciate it.
On behalf of the fans, we're just over the moon to hear you dissect, because you put so much thought and love into your dances, and we really appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate all of the fans out there who actually are enjoying getting to know this. And it's funny. I was watching our first interview, and it's funny. I didn't realize how much of like my own kind of like teenage theater geek I turned into just talking about it. I was like, okay, Chris, calm down. Because I must have said like 50 times. I mean, I was so excited just talking about it and sharing it, because it just makes me so excited. So, but I'm glad that people are enjoying it just as much. So we're all
This is the place for theater nerds. This is the sanctuary. So episode 3, titled Bells and Whistles. We will get to that title song in a second. Holy moly. But first, there is the epic Everyone's Gotta Get Naked. I mean, that must have been so much fun. So when do you get these songs from Cinco, and when do you start planning? I mean, is it really far in advance?
Not at all. I mean, gosh, I didn't get the songs for the season until, oh gosh, like February or so, and we were in the studio in April. I mean, it was a quick turnaround for that many songs, and but they also were morphing and changing, so, and that was fun to be a part of too. But of course, I mean, it's the same thing. Like when I get these scripts and I call them, they're like, Christmas gifts. Everyone's is like, when I got to Everyone's Got to Get Naked, I was like, oh my God, no. What are we doing? What do I do? It's like, The answer is crystal clear. So lend an ear. Everyone's gotta get naked.
I'm sorry, what now?
Get back to the way we were born.
This is mandatory?
Oh, but it was fun to work out. And that was a lot of experimenting in a decent way in the room, but it was fun to kind of think of all the options to do, because at the start it's hilarious, but the trick of it is, though, it was one of the trickiest ones to do, because like once you say the joke, it's like, right, how long can you tease that tease, So we all, when it was originally done, it was even longer. We actually figured out a good length that felt satisfying and full, but because there was a point where I was like, I don't know if I can sustain this any longer. I think people are going to want to see it. Right. So it was fun to try to kind of ramp and tease, and then just coming up with the different bits and whatnot was just a hoot. But that one really, I'd say really, like a lot of the top stayed pretty much the same, but the ending definitely got amped up while we were on set, because once we saw what was there and like at our fingertips, and then John, our DP, John Joffin, like he had these special filters and like the kaleidoscope image, so like it just became this really, oh, we're going to take these, you know, ribbons and like just run out on the road and do jetés. I mean, it was just like this, the most fun chaos ever. But it was really fun. It was really fun to watch it put together finally, because I had no idea what it was going to look like eventually, because we were just doing, I don't want to say bits, but we were just doing moments, really fun and funny moments with the cast. And so watching it all put together in that way I was like, oh great. Like I was really satisfied with the result, because it was one of the, I had no idea what it was going to be really.
Yeah, because it really, I think, was, as of so far in the series, the most like chopped up, for lack of a better word, number
Yeah.
cinematically.
And it gets really trippy and fun. And that was, you know, I mean, the top was pretty much what all the Grease references and the hand jive and the
Yeah, you did
circle.
the hand joke, which I didn't mention. Dumb me, it didn't mention in my breakdown that they're doing the hand jive when they're mentioning Zuko and Kaneki and all those, which is hysterical.
And then Aaron had the special callback to his own
His own.
game of Zuko. So it was a really fun one to layer in. And one of my favorites, like Easter eggs for sure, is the Twyla moment from Hair,
Mm-hmm.
with the hippies dancing in the park in Central Park. I was like, oh, we have to do that. We absolutely have to
So
do it.
perfect.
So yeah, there are so many fun little ones in there for sure. There's the sock roll down was from Godspell for sure. The head under the skirt, Godspell. Like there was a lot of fun pulls. That we were, it was just plucking little things here and there, but it was fun.
Something I noticed actually this afternoon when I was rewatching it to prepare for this interview is that like Michael Dellava, who played Michael in the show, he's in one of the dancers doing the Twyla
Oh,
movements. I was like, oh man, there's the trio. So it wasn't just the core dancers, which was fun.
yeah, and they really wanted to do it too, which I loved, because I didn't plan on that. We were in the studio, and we, you know, that we only had certain people certain times, because they, you know, again, they were off shooting things while we were rehearsing, and you know, and but they were like, oh no, can we do it? Can we do it? And they like on set, they were like learned it and did it. I was so happy that they did, because it, you know, it you know, makes the tribe complete. So yeah, they were fully game. So yeah, I mean, and it was in the script that like all the clothes get thrown at Josh's face and then like reveal and whatnot. So there was a very we had a moment of an ill-fated parachute idea that was almost going to happen, that the tribe was playing with a parachute and they trapped Josh under it, and they were all underneath like trying to, you know, tease him and get naughty and whatnot. And that was kind of the big reveal. And I'm so happy that it, where that limited our kind of scope, that it only got wider when we got there. So that was like one of those great changes.
Nice.
That's like happened. Yeah.
Well, we will delve. We'll return to the tribe for next episode for one of my favorite songs of the season. But for this episode, we move now to the worst brats in town. We go to Quick Street and Kristen Chenoweth.
Good day, miss. Looking pretty, looking lonely. Looks like you could use a child or two or three.
Oh my gosh.
So you're working with Kristen Chenoweth and some amazing child actors. What was that like, setting up something that wasn't dancey? It was more fun staging that's really lyric specific.
That was that, to be honest, that was part of the trick, in terms of just, I asked Kristen, I was like, what do you need? In like, because those, I mean, I think, what was, he rhymed like 8 rhymes in that
Yeah,
song?
I think it was an 8 rhyme
rhyme. I mean, I was like, this is, I mean, it's amazing. And it was such a mouthful. And there were ideas of like her like beating a carpet and her like doing and I was like, let's just stay out of its way. It's so smart and it's so well written. And then you put Kristen on top of that, of course, and her delivery. So it's like, you don't really, we were like, oh, let's not over decorate this. It's already, the work is fantastic. And then we sculpted it with the kids in the background, with the, rolling the hoop and literally
kicking the can, which just killed me. I don't know why that killed me, but kicking the can was just so funny to me.
Kicking the can. And and we had her, the core, trio of kids around her that were very specific with the mice tail in his mouth and things like that, they had to really be there and kind of like and help and do their part. But the kids were all great. So yeah, so it was just it was kind of just getting out of her way and letting her deliver that. So it was fun.
Amazing. A little less intensive than last season's Tribulation, which I guess we'll talk about when we do hopefully we'll do our season 1 breakdowns. But that was an epic feat of lots of people, including you.
So that was a big one.
Speaking of epic feats, let's just get into the title song, Bells and Whistles. Holy rap. So, I mean...
Bells and whistles, we'll get them all. Although the purists, they may scoff. All you need are bells and whistles.
Everybody on that show, you, Jane, Single, all deserve Emmys. Let me just say that for this number. So how do you even, when you get that song and Jane Krakowski's performing it, how do you limit yourself? Because that woman can do anything and everything. What was it like setting up that number?
That was it's kind of one of those, like you turn the page and go, oh, okay, like this is, we gotta land this one. And and knowing it was for Jane, and and she, like everyone on the show, I mean, it's because different people have different moments and whatnot, but like she's relentless in terms of like her hard work and her when she set her mind to it and she did it. And like, when, for example, she was only supposed to enter on the trapeze, like, and that was it. It was supposed to, like, that was in the script. She would enter on a trapeze, and I'm going, oh, amazing, and then we went through our process, and then we finally connected in Vancouver, person to person, and we were chatting through things, and she was like, well, can I do more? She's like, why bring in a trapeze if I'm not going to use it? And I was like, really? And she was like, oh yeah. She's like, I already checked. There's trapeze lessons like right around like the corner from the studio. I mean, she was, I'm telling you, she was all in. She's like, let's go for it. She's like, I want to do it all. She's like, let whatever, I'm game for anything. And to, oddly enough, I had been on a trapeze before, and it's very hard. It's really hard. I mean, to be honest, especially, and I was saying this to her as well. I was like, let's, luckily that number was cutaways, which, there were things that were cut, there were things that were lengthened, but it does, after a while, it's really hard on the back of your knees because you're holding your weight up by that part of your knee. So I was like, let's just be mindful. I just want to make sure that you don't get hurt. I said, but she was, but when we were on the set shooting something, and she was sending me texts of video from her like trapeze lessons going, oh, this is the mermaid. And I can, and I was like, great. So,
oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, it was, she's just a daredevil, and, she just went for it. It was, coming up with that was, it just was nonstop. It was nonstop fun. I mean, we did a base kind of, prep for it, but I was like, it's really going to be like Jane dependent. Like I have to do this on her because I want to see what feels good on her body, but also knowing like Dance 10 Looks 3 was in there too. And I paying a ton of homages to that. And there's so many Easter eggs in this number. So we created it really there on her. And I basically went in with like, here's a kind of start, here's a kind of like where we can go. And then for the dance break, it was literally just like, we can do this, we can do that. I mean, we had like, so like her, like shooting darts at a board of balloons. And we had like the most ridiculous, it was just a million things. One of my favorites though, for sure, was Lady Justice. She was on the roller skates. She's like, that one is in. She said, she's like, we'll keep talking about these. She's like, but I'm doing that. She said, me blindfolded on roller skates, holding scales. She said, we're doing, which I was so happy about. And again, and then like every team, you know, like they come together and it's like, they make it so that she can say everyone, she's safe. And like it's happening in front of our eyes, and she was rolled through the frame.
So
and
great.
It's just, it was kind of like the gift that kept giving after a while. It's just so much. I mean, so much. And she wanted to kind of be like, you know, a Billy Flynn Roxy kind of blend. Like she was like, I still want to be strong, but I also like, I want to do some hot honey. And she's like, I want to seduce, and I want to like, she really had a lot of thoughts too, which was really great. It was an amazing collaboration with her and Cinco and team, of course, but like diving into what she wanted and what she could do physically. I mean, it was any, you know, we could do anything. I mean, she was tap dancing. I mean, the list was, it was really did it all.
So amazing. So
Yeah.
I already know the answer to this question, but for everyone at home, can you just verify that there is no stunt double for her entrance flipping?
Sorry I'm late. I hope there aren't any objections.
That is her.
That's yes, for the record, and because even a friend who I was talking to go, oh wow, and I was like, no, that was her. Like that is all Jane. Like she flipped and caught her heels on the wires, and then like did the dismount off onto the floor in heels.
Holy moly!
No, that I literally, it was literally all her. I mean, it was for sure. I mean, that's why and that's what's even more, you know, she really, really worked hard for that number. I'm so happy people enjoyed it the way they did, because she really worked hard. And the jury behind her, like, you know, they were all extras. And so like
Pete from season 1.
Pete. And we had to teach them all that ding dong, all the timing, because, you know, and just like drilling. Cause I was like, you guys, if she's going to be in a split, we can't mess up. So like, let's really be on top of this. Cause you know, it's like, and so it was, and they were so game, and same thing. And like, she was like playing with them and touching their hair and doing all this fun stuff. She was doing on the trapeze and throwing glitter on them. And yeah, so it was a lot of fun. I mean, that was just one of those like another pinch me moment. Like this is that number was yeah, it's definitely in like my top 5 of all time, I think. Also another huge shout out. I mean, that the room, that set was built just for that room and just for that number.
That was not a courtroom. Wow.
That was I mean, and that to the, like, once everything was approved and we knew we were bringing in the trapeze, and there were designs and everything was getting ready to be built. But then when Jane said she wanted to swing on it, that changed the whole dimension of like where the like pick point was for the trapeze to pendulum and all of that. So the room was actually being redesigned and rebuilt as we were choreographing the number. And again, like just everyone across the board like made that happen in such an amazing way so that Jane could do the number that she wanted to do. And so that was really amazing to watch in real time happen, just changing the dimensions of things and where Josh and Melissa were sitting, and where it was all done so specifically and measured so that like she could make it to the jury box in this amount of steps. And like, it was like how wide the base of the jury box was so that she could be in a split that wasn't too narrow, but it wasn't too wide. I mean, it was all measured so that it benefited her performance. I mean, that really is
incredible. So that actually, a question just popped into my head. When you think of doing a Broadway show, you think of, the old school, we're kind of cut that number and throw in a whole new number in 24 hours. But I feel like with the technology in the theater world, that's really not as easy to do anymore. Would you actually say it's easier to change things in the film world than it is in the Broadway world? sort of with situations like that?
I would say now it is because, well, at least when, with certain shows with certain technology, I mean, it's kind of a Rubik's cube. Like if you want to move a scene around and there's certain technology with hydraulics and elevators or pieces on tracks and things, I mean, it could set a domino going where in a film you could shoot it and then go, oops, that, and then if you don't get it that day, if it's really worth it, you can then, we just did that on a film that I worked on where we went back like 6 months later and reshot things that like were on a different set, or you could put it against a blue or green screen. Like there are technologies that you can get away with that makes it a little easier to kind of get what you want in film and TV in terms of, it in a way that's just, it's a little more accessible than a Broadway show that's live, that you have to take physical pieces and move them back. So even the backstage traffic in the theater, that alone, I mean, that alone, figuring out backstage traffic and where to stand as pieces are coming off and on and drops are coming in. I mean, it's all such a puzzle. Where film and TV, it's, it's set up and you have to do it, but like once you get it, you got it. And then, and you don't
it doesn't need to be sustainable.
Yeah. Or even in sequence. I mean, that's part of it too. Like none of like bells and whistles, it was like, okay, while the trapeze is in, let's get all of those shots. And then while Keegan's in the box, let's get those moments with him. So it's more, you can be efficient and still get a lot of bang for your buck. So
amazing. So, okay, so let's break down the number. So she does her amazing entrance and flips down, and then we get the Fosse arms and the little Roxy finger twirl moment, which is just amazing. And then we do some hot honey rag, which she executes so beautifully.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say she really, we watched it. We were, she really not obsessed in like in the best way. She was like, if I'm gonna do it and quote it, I really want it to look good. And she was like, she would practice so hard on these moves and because she was like, I'm not like a Fosse dancer. She's like, I can dance. I mean, obviously she can dance. She's like, but I never really did Fosse, so like this isn't so natural for me. And she, like, again, she just worked and worked and worked and worked and worked. And one of my favorite shots, and it's the underscore too. It's when she's walking towards the judge with the boom boom, and it's that dun 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 dun. It always feels like a shark is coming at the judge. It's her look and that underscore, and that it's so great.
It's like a Fosse shark coming in.
It's basically that. I was like, oh my gosh, when they got that shot in the moment, I was like, oh, I know that's going in somewhere, because her eyes were like lasers. It's so good.
She's so good, and her costume too for that number was so great, and showing off the best legs in the business. I mean, Cheetah Rivera and Jake Rakowski, best legs in theater. Yeah. So for the different little bits, like I'm interested if it came from you or if it was in the script. So like the handkerchief out of the not guilty handkerchief out of the mouth, was that something that you came up with, or it was in the script?
I can't remember. There in the script there were 3 examples. Like one was like fire batons, which we didn't do. I can't remember, to be honest, what was in the script.
There was the ventriloquist.
That one I did that for Chicago for for the
both reach for the gun.
Yeah. Reach for the gun. So that was, but I think the not guilty might have been in the script. Yeah, there were 3. It was the fire. There was something else, but then the rest we just went with like 8 ideas. Like here are 8 ideas that we'll shoot, and then we'll and kind of the reason I kind of threw in the water one was because, again, we didn't know if it was going to be one shot. We didn't know at the time, so I kind of thought the joke would have been funny that she's like taking this drink of water before she goes into the Married Today rat-a-tat. So it was kind of like she was like just kind of getting ready for
that,
getting a little juice for that. But it was so much fun just to, throw up all the options on the wall and see what came out. It was just a blast.
So good. I have a great photo I put up right now of you and her looking at sort of the footage after filming a take. It's so great. Such a great moment. And you mentioned the roller skating bit, which is great. Did she mention that? I mean, I'm sure you knew that she, of course, starred in Starlight Express when she was 19. Did she still have those skills, she said, from doing that number, from doing that show?
She was roller skating around the courtroom. It was, I mean, and that's why she was like, well, I could give you a backward, like she was skating backwards and like, you know, but then it's just the cross was like that, like this, as soon as we saw it, we were like, oh no, but that's the one. Yeah. Just a nice, clean, you know, it was really fun. But yeah, so anyway, there were a bunch, and I'm trying to think if there were any other, because we have the Val, yeah, we have the step heels from the Hot Honey were in there too,
and the I don't know how you do with the legs, you know, the crisscrossy knees, yeah. And
then she did you don't really see it in the edit, but she did do the spit into her hands before the cartwheel like they do at the end of Hot Honey. But yeah, it was just so much fun.
And even during the crazy not getting married today patter section, when she throws in the darling wife bit, so funny.
It's that she I mean, she came in with that down. Like it was at the read through at the first, you know, she knew she had to do it, and it was just, now she probably will never, in the way that Kristen says, like she'll never forget Tribulation. Like I don't think Jane will ever forget that patter, because you just can't, like it was so specific when she was gesturing and looking, and it just in a part of her.
She just did an interview where she did it full out. I mean, she did it she said like almost a year since they filmed it, and she still knew that patter.
I think it's thank you to the judge and all the members of the jury. I will try to make this brief because I know you're in a hurry. So my client, the defendant, Dr. Joshua D. Skinner, he was merely at the club to take his darling wife to dinner. He stumbled on the body of Miss Elsie, the decedent, and it goes on and on.
I know.
That's amazing.
I know.
Yeah. Incredible. And then the split with the sparklers. First of all, were those really lit sparklers? That wasn't really CGI fire?
Mm-mm. I mean, they may. I can't tell if they've been enhanced, but they were real, because we had, because it was, oh my god, it was so many funny things. It's like she's in the split. I'm running up to fix the fringe in front of her costume, and she has fire. You know, the sparklers are in her hands, and it was like, go. It was just the whole thing. It just makes me, obviously, brings back so many great fun memories of just joy, you know, just everyone in the room, just joy. It was great.
So amazing. I feel like you could definitely feel that coming through. Like we said before, you can feel that, the joy coming through, and it feels like, you know, when you see a live show, you're in that room, you're feeling that energy, and you hardly ever get that with film and TV, but with this show, it really feels like you're in a live performance, which is so amazing.
And you know, and again, that's a testament to every single performer on the show. I mean, like I mean, yes, you would have to do some transitions differently, but could Jane actually do that number on stage? Absolutely. Could anyone in the show do any, like, yes. And that's what's exciting, because, you know, like, again, that's not a stunt double. Like, they are all, you know, they are singing those songs, they are dancing those dances, they are, you know, there's no doubt that they can do all this. And that's what I think is so exciting, because it's not a CGI kind of like, you know, it's raw talent. And again, that's why I mean, I love TV and film, but that's why I love theater, because when you watch someone in their element do it live, it's palpable. Like, that person is doing this live, like this is happening right now. And that's why every single performer on this show, you get that feeling from them, though. You get that, like, you know, back to like Dove with the chair, or, I mean, you can name out, because I don't want to spoil anything coming up, but like all of the, you know, they were doing it. Like they worked their butts off. That's their discipline, and they were doing it. And there's something about knowing that it does. I feel like it does come through, that it's it's just true raw talent, you know, watching someone's incredible ability, you know, and I just so appreciate that.
Unbelievable. So one last question: when she was in that split with the sparklers, was anyone holding her up, or was she just was solid in that split? Hot diggity damn, that's amazing.
Well, that's when I went, like, when we're talking about the set, like, we made sure that it was like this width to make sure that she had enough on either side to like prep before, land the sparklers, lift them up. I mean, it was very, even down to that measurement, so that she felt comfortable in the split. Yeah, that was all her.
Amazing. Well, anything else about episode 3, Bells and Whistles, that we should mention that we haven't already?
There is actually one. This is a deep Easter egg.
Oh yes, okay. I remember being teased that there was something incredible. Okay, I'm ready for it.
In the parable of the lamb,
Yes.
the lamb hooves, I'm spoofing myself from Silence the Musical. They're wearing socks and paint can lids, and the ears. That's I stole from myself from Silence the Musical with the lambs from Silence. So when I saw in the script it was the parable of the lamb, and I mostly staged that.
So you did stage the parable. Okay,
Yeah.
I almost wrote that down, asking if you did that.
Yeah. So because Cinco was like, take a look at it. You know, we can always play with it on its feet, but like give it a shape. And so we do. So I kind of had a night. I was like, oh, well, what if we do the socks and the pink cans? You know, given that they're lambs, and so that's a kind of shout out to my Silence casts over the different places, but
Yeah.
for them, because it was a fun one to be able to throw in that I knew was so
That is, I mean,
and I was like, I could only ever do it right now in this show in a junkyard with lambs. Yeah, it was a fun deep Easter egg. So
that is amazing.
that's a bit of love to all my Silence cast members.
Incredible. Well, as I have said before, I'll keep saying again, you put so much thought and love and knowledge and history into each and every move. And us Schmiga nerds can't get enough of it. And we see it and we appreciate it. And thank you.
Thank you.
And I guess that's where we'll end episode 3. We're going to do episode 4. And I can't wait to do the whole season and season 1 and then season 3, 4, 5, and 6 with you in the future. Fingers crossed.
Let's do it.
As always, a huge thank you to Chris Gattelli for sharing his process and his secrets with us theater nerds. Another massive thank you to Steven Binsky for his help in acquiring those amazing previs videos, which are just so fun to see. I love the whole parachute thing this episode. And of course, another big thank you to the wonderful cast and crew of Schmigadoon, plus the amazing previs dancers and choreography staff for allowing us to take a look under the parachute, so to speak. Like I mentioned before, new weekly breakdowns of Season 2 with Chris will be coming out Tuesdays, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any of those. Also, it's looking like we will be diving into Season 1 of Schmigadoon with Chris as well. It's just also very exciting, so make sure you're subscribed. The Season 2 finale of Schmigadoon comes out tomorrow at the time of this video going live, which means my final episode breakdown for the season will be coming out on Friday. I am so sad it's over, but maybe the real Schmicago is the friends we made along the way. If you enjoyed this interview, please hit that like button. It helps appease the YouTube algorithm gods, as well as letting me, and more importantly, Chris and other cast and crew members of Schmigadoon know that you want more of this kind of content. Who else would you like to see me try to get on this channel for a chat? Let me know in the comments and I'll see what I can do. Be sure to follow me on the socials at bwayghostlight. There's a link in the description to my merch store where you can find some fun Schmiga goodies to peruse. And there's also a link to my Patreon in the description where there are fun perks like outtakes and cut moments from these interviews with Chris. And also you can get your name in the credits like these awesome people. A special shout out to my generous producer level patrons. All my patrons are just the best. I love you guys so much. But until next week, this is Broadway by Ghostlight. I'm Mark Bonanni. Thanks for watching.